just kind of toss a little bit of an appetizer for spring football here between Jeremy and I. We each put together 3 things that we'll be looking for in the spring. This was just kind of a free flow of thoughts and ideas. I personally kind of came at it from things that I can see in some sort of at practice or in the spring game or whatnot. That's not necessarily what will happen over the entirety of the time, but basically just toss ideas into a hat. I'll lead things off to start. I want to see when we go out there, assuming that we get enough access, which I think we will, what the first 5 offensive line looks like at some point. What 5 are working together? I mean, I can put the names out there. You lose Ed Ingram, you lose Liam Shanahan, you lose Chasen Hines, you lose Austin Deculus. You're looking at a returning group of Cam Wire, Anthony Bradford, Garrett Dellinger, Marcus Dumerville, Cardell Thomas, Xavier Hill, Charles Turner, Kimo Makaniole. You brought in a couple transfers, Miles Frazier, Tremont Shorts. Will Campbell is an early enrollee. Emory Jones is not. I can guess what I think it would look like. I don't know that it's all that educated a guess. I think it's just kind of throwing it on the wall. I think Cam Wire's your left tackle. I think Anthony Bradford is your left guard. I've got Charles Turner at center. I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel confident that that's necessarily the first guy that'll be up there, but I've got him there. Then I've got the 2 transfers on the right side, Tremont Shorts and Miles Frazier at right tackle. That's my guess. I just, there's a lot of work to be done, and certainly far more for Brad Davis to do this spring, summer, and the fall than he had last year when they tossed him in August and said, hey, go get him. But I'm just curious to see what this group looks like in the spring.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a huge question mark. And I think really for the offensive side of the ball, you feel really great about everything else other than that. If you can find, I know Coach Kelly prides himself on developing young offensive linemen and really giving those guys opportunity to play college football at a high level. If you can find that, I think you feel great about a lot of other positions, especially the receiver position. I know there's going to be a quarterback battle, and so that's what my first thing on the list would be is this quarterback battle. I think the quarterback competition is going to be so important, especially with, Jaden Daniels coming in through the transfer portal, putting pressure on Miles Brennan. And I think Garrett Nussmeier is a guy that, I know Taylor Sharp holds in a high regard. I think you can't count him out of that. He had some, big-time throws last year. I know he came up short in the Arkansas game, but he's going to be right in the middle of that. And I know Walker Howard's going to have a lot to prove, too. He's got to go out there and not want to waste days and get better. May not be on the horizon for him to play this season, but I'm going to be really intrigued to see, what kind of guy, rises to the top, becomes a leader of this football team and really, kind of takes over. And I think he's got to have a wealth of weapons as far as running back position goes, receiver. And I think whoever earns that job is going to have a great opportunity to do some big things next season.
You never really dealt with that here. Met was the guy for your two years playing, and then you go to the NFL and you're playing with guys who have made Pro Bowls and won playoff games. So it's you've never. But do you think the team's going to notice? I mean, what the quarterback spot look? Maybe more so in the fall. What's your take on that?
Yeah, no, I think it's an everyday thing. I think it starts, especially when that guy is improving. I think everything they're looking at everything, especially your teammates. They're looking at how you work out every day, how you are in the meetings, how long you're in the building. All that stuff's got to come into the picture, especially when there's not that true alpha number 1 dog that everyone kind of knows is the leader. So everyone's got to be looking at everything. And until that guy kind of is named and with his play and just how he does everything on and off the field, I think it's going to be a big-time competition. So I'm really intrigued and excited to really see what guy kind of takes the charge and does that.
All right, number 2 for me, and we can talk about quarterback all day. We may talk about it more in the next segment if you want. If you've got questions you want answers to, put them in the Bayou Ford chat or tweet them at me at HuntPalmer88. We may bleed this into another segment here because there's just a lot of meat on the bone before they ever put the pads on, and we can actually get into actual things that have happened. This one is pretty specific, and I don't even know that it's very important for next football season, but it's something I'm curious to. Quincy Wiggins, early enrollee, got a 5th star. Absolutely ridiculous measurables. 6'6", 275 pounds, can move, was a really good high school basketball player. Then he got in that weird scooter accident in January where he hurt his wrist. I don't have an update on that. I don't know, and so we'll see when we go out there. But that's a guy who hasn't spent his formative years working on football technique. He's been a basketball player really his whole life and decided as a junior, let's try this football thing out. There's so much to work with physically that I think that, these first 18 months in Baton Rouge where you take that raw athleticism and teach him how to play football, is so important. So I'm curious just how much he can do, how much attention he gets, what strides he's able to make, and what he looks like out there in pads. I think Quincy Wiggins is interesting to me this spring.
Yeah, I think he just adds to the just incredible depth you already have on the defensive line. I think that's a position that you feel really great about, especially with B.J. Ojolari coming back, Ali Gay coming back. You got some guys in the interior that you feel really, really great about. And now if you can add a freshman to that mix, a guy, like you said, is extremely raw. It meets all the measurables that you would want to see. Now you feel like that could really be the strong suit of this team. So I think he's definitely a guy who could come in early and help this football team. And that's going to tie into my second thing. I think for me, the thing I'm looking forward to is Matt House's defense. How different is it going to be compared to what we watched last year, especially the first 6 or 7 games of the season when the defense wasn't changing much up at all. You were seeing the same coverage time and time again, and you saw some of these college coaches really scheme them up and really put them in extremely bad situations. So I know for him, especially just watching them, do the same thing down the stretch, which had more success, which is just blitz as much as you possibly can. I'm looking for Matt House's defense to be a little bit more multiple, be able to change it up a little bit, keep some of these college quarterbacks on their toes, and some of these coordinators who get paid a ton of money to dial up plays, kind of keep some of these people on their toes, because he's got to have the athletes out there. If you look at the work they've done in the transfer portals to kind of up this secondary, you look at the linebackers with Michael Baskerville coming back, and now you look at that defensive line. He's going to have options, to play around and call some stuff up. So I'm going to be excited this spring to kind of see, what kind of looks he's throwing out there.
Now, this really doesn't matter, and you'll see when I tell you why, but when you're talking about Matt House, I'm curious as to what his demeanor's like in practice, because the guys that I've gone out there to see, John Chavis I could hear before they opened the gate. He was already screaming and yelling before they opened the gate. Dave Aranda, I never heard a peep from. He was the quietest guy out there. He's talking to guys one-on-one, never raised his voice ever, whatever. Bo Pelini's screaming, yelling, whistle blowing, that whole deal. And then Durante Jones was very, very quiet and very much more of a teacher and a communicator. It doesn't matter. You can do it, or you can be great or not so great either way. I'm curious to see what he does. You can go ahead and get me your number 3, because I think mine kind of dovetails into it, and I'll let you start.
Okay, yeah. My 3 is lack of tight ends, man. Really, you got Cole Taylor and really not much. I think Jack has kind of graduated from, playing that tight end position. I don't think anyone wants to see him doing that anymore. I think he's done more than enough to earn himself definitely a full-time receiver job. And you got some young, freshmen coming in, but I think that's probably the biggest hole to me on this offense, especially. Not really. And some people will say offensive line probably wouldn't, argue with you too much on that. But I think right now I want to see how Coach Denbrock really tries to, because I know watching Cincinnati, watching Notre Dame, that they run a lot of 2 tight end sets, and you really can't really point to that.
Not this fall.
Yeah,
not this spring.
Yeah, it's really hard to point to that right now. So I want to see how they massage that and really, what they do. Maybe they run a lot more 3 receiver sets, but I think that's kind of one of the bigger questions I have for the offense. I want to see how they fix that.
You have Cole Taylor, and you've got Jack Mashburn. Mason Taylor's not an early enrollee, so he's not there. And my third one was, what do they do with Jack Bash? That is my third point, and I'd like to see him just go work with the receivers, especially in the spring when he needs to be working on route running and stuff. I don't care if you can get the formations correct in the spring. I want guys to work on the things that make them the best football players they can be in the fall. And for Jack, that's working in the slot and playing wide receiver. So I'll just be curious what he's doing when we go out to practice and seeing. We obviously had him on at walk-ons a couple weeks ago before the opener, and basically said, "Yeah, I'm working with the receivers. That's the plan here moving forward." And speaking of receivers, this is going to be another one. Is Deion Smith out there? I don't know what.
Wait, I thought he was in the portal.
Well, yeah, but he hadn't gone anywhere, and spring practice is starting. So is he on the team? Is he enrolled in school? I haven't heard anything on Deion Smith. I'd like an update on him. So that's another one that I'd like to take a look at. Because there's a lot. Look, spring football is overreaction time. It is not massively important. There's still a long way to go before you lace them up. And with this program and where it is and where they're moving toward, like, you're a long way from a finished product. So for us, it'll be fun to see some new faces, some new names, new energy, the new press conferences. It's just a change of pace and a breath of fresh air. But is it massively important? No. So on this show, we're going to tell you what we see. We're going to try to get some interviews. We're going to listen when they have press conferences and whatnot. Are we going to get massive overreactions unless somebody tears an ACL? No. So it is what it is. It's spring football. It's a good time of the year.
Thanks so much for watching Hunt Hill on YouTube.
Now do us a favor. Hit the red subscribe button below and throw us a like. We'll see you next time.